black skin, white mask. Already know that life gets hard, and they say that we're used to the harshness. If it wasn't for the pain, I'd laugh. Truth is we knew about light before dark. Turned music to art and taught everyone to dance. And still no chance. Freedom must be too much to ask. Bleeding from the ache in my heart. Sometimes I wish it was whites in the middle like France. No, I'm not racist, just jarred. Got hate before bush, not plants. They say we should leave it all in the past, but my brother's still dying on the end, so I can't. So if my attitude stinks, don't ask, cause a hashtag won't help you understand my stance. Fuck a melody, this is real rap if you ever see. Head hot, cause the system won't let me be. Tell me how I thrive in a place that don't cherish me. And they wonder why we all need therapy. Pre the energy, just another nigga to Penelope. And they don't get it how we bottom of the barrel and still drip sauce on the world, no recipe. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding. We pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fold, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
Forgive me if you don't understand. Sorry, I'm just misunderstood. Punished if I try to take a stand. Meanwhile, my friends dying in the hood. And you can say that we're killing ourselves, but truth is they're killing us still. How you saying Black Lives Matter, but never took a moment to help? Just a trend that you post for yourself. And yeah, it takes a toll on my health, cause I want wealth like everyone else, but it's 10 times harder for me. And they wonder why my brothers put food on a scale. Yeah, when I die I'll see heaven, that's real. Cause we already living in hell. Wish I could share all the pain I felt. Oh well, I guess I won't speak till my scars do heal. I just wanna be black with a meal. Yeah, that's for every time I had no meals. Cause my mother couldn't keep up the bills. With a handful of kids, no home, just a cell. And I don't care if conscious don't sell. Knowledge brings height to an elf. Went from sitting on thrones to a cell. Been blessed, man, it wasn't by chance we fell. Weight of the world on my shoulders, all the pressures in life still tightly holding. We pour libation for all of the fallen soldiers, but the pain still goes unspoken. They want us to stay broken, never gonna fold, fuck folding. I see my people lost hope, shit, don't you know we all been chosen.
Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Yeah, this is real life. Kaa kimya skia. Real talk. We're coming from the ghetto. Kinondoni, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania mpaka UK. The world finest. Yeah. Pambana kijana. Life is too hard, life is too short. Shaa kwa nangu cha ghetto. Usikate tamaa. Jua kwamba ipo siku tutatoboa. Tutatoka. Gang for life.
I am the true name.
Yes, blessed love, his time is up, family. Blessed love. We are actually here. Enough people don't know we're on today, you know. Blessed love. I see Hurricane Toya in the chats. I don't know if any other mods are in tonight, but blessed love, my sister. Blessed love all the regulars. Blessed love all of those who are paying attention. Because I know enough people, even this morning, after I changed the date and put out that video yesterday. But you know my thing, I keep forgetting to upload it on YouTube. I forget a lot of the followers only have YouTube. They don't have anything else, and they literally tune in on a Friday to try and get tuned in. But yeah, man, the way that I am sweating right now, people, it's mad. I am so hot, and I'm trying to resist putting the AC on because that's a whole heap of money from JPS. So I am proper sweating. Guys, before we get into the topic, I'll tell you guys all about who we're going to be talking about tonight. It's a bit echoey in this room, right? Put up a one if there's an echo, because the room is proper echoey to me. Sounds quite echoey. Angor, that's right. We're still waiting for Hurricane Melissa to lick Jamaica. Apparently they've been waiting over a week. She's been sitting down in Caribbean waters. I have got myself up to speed with that because let me tell you, I ain't playing with them things. I've never been involved in anything like that. But to be honest with you, having said that, in Tanzania, when I was there in 2020, 21, there was a cyclone that was destined to hit, it was on mark to hit Dar es Salaam where we were. And there was a lot of kerfuffle, just like there is in Jamaica at the moment today. The army were out with sandbags and there was a whole thing going on. So we were obviously, as we are now, myself and baby Afua, buckled in, stocked up to the eyeballs and buckled in with survival kit and torches and all sorts of stuff because I go everywhere with my survival kit. Water purifier, everything. So we were doing that and we were watching on the news the trajectory of this hurricane and it was like, yep, full impact, it's going to hit Dar es Salaam. All of the mosques started going up in prayer. Even the churches were putting up loudspeakers and going up in prayer. The whole city, you could not escape the prayer, especially the Muslim prayer. And we watched this thing come closer and closer, and it was like 30 minutes to landfall, 15 minutes to landfall, 8 minutes to landfall. This cyclone, which is the same as a hurricane, really, I don't know which one's worse. I think they're the same. But this cyclone just did a full 90-degree turn, missed the coast of Dar es Salaam and headed off towards Mozambique where it done multiple damage. Right? I still like to believe to this day that it was prayer that assisted that thing to turn away from Dar es Salaam. So Jamaica is definitely praying. All over the radio there's prayer groups and even in the street you can hear people praying and whatever in their houses, and it is prayer. There is prayer going on all over the bloody city, all over the island rather. So that's what we're doing and we're bracing for this thing. I'm like, why is it my luck that I end up coming to Jamaica when this thing is going down? Because the way they're talking about this thing is that it's going to be worse than the one in 2012 and just as bad as 88 storm. Everybody knows about 88 storm. Everyone knows about Gilbert. And I'm saying, hold on a minute. Of all the days and all the times and all the weeks, do you understand? How did I end up in what could be a category 4 or 5 storm that's earmarked to be worse, just as bad as Gilbert? Nah. And really, I came because Baby Miracle has half term. Her friend in England also has half term. That friend, her family have come out to Jamaica for half term. And they're having some grandiose play date. Really? I don't really need to be here. So, yeah, what the hell? And I'm here now. So this is what we're doing. But we have our abode set up wherever we drop. As you guys well know, we're global Africans, digital nomads, and that is how it's going down. Now, while in transit and obviously not paying attention, I have not paid my StreamYard. I'm actually thinking if I'm going to bother. But in any event, I haven't done that. Last time it was a problem where I'd paid it. Well, I was trying to pay it and it wasn't allowing me. This time it's allowing me. And I went to do it before we went on, looked at the time and I was like, it's not going to happen because it's a bit of a process. You go through it, it takes long. So no, his time is up logo, which is not very good for the visuals, but who cares? We're getting the message out there, people. That is what we're doing. Blessed love, my sister. I see you there. You know who you are. Don't know. Big victory. Keep it moving. Yeah. Yeah, man. I see enough people in tonight. Yes, this live is about Jamel Belgrave. Yes, it is. So let's get into it because I'm waffling. I can tell I'm not in the UK. Let's get into it. We'll talk about Hurricane Melissa afterwards. So I'm not able, I might be able to upload a picture. Let me have a look, guys. Let's see if I'm able to do that because that makes life a lot easier. Let's see if it's doing it. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, it kind of likes it, I think. No, doesn't like it. So we're gonna share a screen. This is who we're talking about tonight. His name is Jamel Belgrave. There's somebody in the comments that was basically saying he is 20 years old at the moment. He's not, he's in his 30s. So let's just get that dispelled and put to one side, quick sharp. Jamel Belgrave is definitely in his 30s. And who are we talking about? In case you haven't got Instagram or Facebook, here's who we're talking about, guys. Jamel Belgrave. It's going to take me a little bit longer to do things tonight, but that's who we're dealing with. This guy here. Do you know what? It's kind of a bit scary, but he has an uncanny resemblance to one of my nephews, which is really frightening. But it's not him, obviously. But here's the guy, Jamel Belgrave of Hendon, which is in northwest London. Hendon. All right. That's who we're on about. Probably the last time I'm going to put that up because I'm having to flick between screens. It's not much fun. So that's who we're talking about, Jamel Belgrave. Now, we have an article that somebody was able to preserve because all information about Jamel Belgrave's case has been wiped from the internet. And there's a lot of conjecture about why it has been wiped from the internet. And I've been talking to several sources, some of them very, 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 very close to Jamel indeed. Not sure he was in the comments, but I know you're not that close to him. And if you are, then you haven't been given the memo. But people that are really, really close to him that have assured me that the reason that Jamel gives as to why the information is no longer available on the internet, namely the narrative that is being pushed in the comments on Instagram under his picture, is that, he was innocent and, he was able to secure a court order to get it taken down or whatever and so on and so forth. I've been told by people close to him that that is actually not the case. It's a complete lie. And what I find interesting as well is that even with investigation that is outside of the internet, you can chase microfiche. We have our researchers. There's no information available. Why, oh why has this information been removed? That's the question. Now, I'm not casting aspersions tonight, and I'm not going to actually level guilt as such, but there are a few interesting points and a few interesting behaviors that I want to highlight. Now, I'm standing in the gap again tonight. I don't like to do it, but tonight I am. And really, this is less of a testimony and more of an appeal for victims to come forward. Now, there's a victim of his that has been all over social media, all over TikTok, and so on. I haven't seen any of the TikTok posts, but apparently she's been very, very vocal. And she has shared a few little tidbits with me tonight. So I'm going to kind of talk about him softly. Let's do that. And someone said, is he a police informant? Well, that usually is the case, isn't it? When you see them starting to remove things and, things are too much in the perpetrator's favor. We've seen it time and time again. Someone says the image is not showing. Sorry, guys, I'm getting a Jamaica call. 1 second. That's my cousin them from Westmoreland finding out if I'm good, because I'm not in Westmoreland at the moment, but I'm definitely in one of the homesteads, buried deep as far as we can go. So yeah, we're in a good place, I think. I hope, in terms of trying to weather a storm. But they're saying, I thought you're all right. I'm saying, yeah, man, we're good. You get your stuff, them. They get your supply. Yes, I did. So in any event, this guy, Jamel, Belgrave, we don't know what's going on. And actually, since the case as well, which was some time ago, he has moved to Leeds. He's completely moved out of London. It's almost like he's changing his identity. He has a narrative that he gives people for whoever catches up with him. But you know, the indictment is really quite serious. Let me just show you guys the let me show you the original article. Hold on one second. Yeah, because you know, some clever people were able to preserve the article, and they were able to preserve it. So nothing is ever lost on the internet, is it? And if you dive deep enough, if you have the right tools to dive deep enough on the internet, you will be able to dig up pretty much whatever has been put out there, you know. But guys, here's a article that was, one second. Oops. What is going on tonight? Never seemed to work right yet, you know. Hold on. Right, here we go. So here's an article from the Kilburn Times, and it's historic. It goes back some time. But this, if you went to search for it now, guys, it would not be available on the internet. That's what's significant. Yeah. Excuse me while I light my spliff. I'm in their yard. It would not be available on the internet, but it's from the Brent and Kilburn Times. And it talks about Jamel Antonio Belgrave from Hendon. He appeared at Southwark Crown Court, where he pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of raping male children under the age of 13 at a property between September 2009 and February 2011. Okay. So this guy's in his 30s. February 2011 would have made him a very late teenager or somewhere in his very early 20s. So I don't want to hear this chat that this guy was a minor when the offences took place. In fact, at the top, I've just seen that and remembered that. It says that he was 20 years old when he appeared, which wasn't long after 2011. I think this article is from around 2013. So he would have been about 18, maybe. Big man, or certainly considered a legal adult when he was allegedly fasting with young boys under the age of 13 years old. Yeah? But what happened? What happened to the case? You guys saying you couldn't see it? Thank you, Porpanyo. Lovely name. Thank you, Porpanyo. It's on the Instagram page. It's also available on Facebook, I do believe, so you'll be able to view it there, okay? These tools aren't always the best. But yeah, curious. That's why I've called this the curious case of Jamel. What is actually going on with the case? Nobody seems to actually be able to tell us that. But further to that as well, for those that are doubting, yeah, he pleaded not guilty, but we do not know the outcome. Was he found guilty? Did he go away for a period of time? Was he considered vulnerable in some way? Maybe that's why they removed it. Who knows? Because it's a mystery. And this is the point that I actually want to make, is that what they do is they are busy erasing certain things from the internet. They are busy protecting perpetrators for all sorts of reasons. But meanwhile, victims get no justice, because his victims have definitely got no justice. Now, as I said before, there's a particular victim that has been sharing her truth. And she has a set of correspondence that go back to 2012, around the time he would have been 17, 18 years old, as I said. And she has shown me evidence that she was 12 at the time in 2012. And here's some correspondence between Jamel Belgrave and the young lady in question. All right, give me a moment. As I say, things are slow today. I can't upload anything. But yeah, man, it's kind of questionable because what we're looking at is a guy that's up on charges for molesting young boys under the age of 13. He denies it. The case disappears like Duppy. Disappears off the internet, disappears off all records, just disappears. And so does he. Leaves London completely, right? But around the same time frame, around the time he's getting caught, he's also involved in trying to groom and have sexual relationships with young girls. And that's evidenced. So give me a moment. Just one moment, guys. So we've got a series. I'm going to have to show you a series of correspondence. I'm going to have to show them to you guys one by one, unfortunately. I wish I could follow it as a thread, but I can't. So let's start with the first one. You guys be patient for me. So this is a correspondence between him and the young girl at the time. Here he is, Jamel Belgrave. He says he's in white, she's in blue. He says, how come you ain't added me on BB? She doesn't answer. He then says, hey. So she says, whoa, yo, what's your pin? He says, laugh out loud, BB broken. Or is that her? No, that's him. She says, okay. He says, you okay? He says, PJ wants to see you. So he's kind of masking like it's his friend that he's trying to ask for, but it's actually him. And then he goes on to say, he said, come see him late. She says, nah. He says, why not? She says, cause. Right, bear with me. I'll show you the next bit. This is so laborious. Oh no, the mosquito them are come. Turn the AC on. These things are lethal. They're far more lethal than African mosquitoes, let me tell you. Apart from the fact that African mosquitoes can give you malaria and kill you, these ones are brutal, man. They're violent like the people them. Like the people them can me. Right, okay, so I've shown that one. Hold on, guys. Bear with. Okay. Here's another one. So here he says, do I still have you on BB? She says, no. He says, why not? She says, don't know. He says, you deleted me, but why? She said, cause. I just love young girl face to this, isn't it? Cause. There's no other explanation than that. Cause. Good, you go, girl. He says, cause what I ain't, cause what? I ain't done nothing, so why? Very persistent. She says, bye. He says, wow, I'm only talking to you and being nice, but cool. Then he says to her, this is a little while later, a few days later, he says to her, what you saying, sexy? She says, NM. I don't know what that means in text languages. Anyone know what that means? No more? I don't know. NM. And then he says, what have you been up to? So I'm assuming they've spoken. It feels like the tone of the conversation has changed a little bit there. There might have been a physical conversation, you know? So have a look at that one. I rampant people that don't show nothing away, honestly. Right. So let's go to the next one. Okay, that one. Must be that one. No. Bear with, guys, bear with. Bear with. Oh, how annoying. Right. So the final message. Is this. He says, so you're gonna give man that sweet pussy. I want to take you out and show you a good time. When can man do that though? Question mark. PJ said hi. Can I get your pin? God. But it's not easy. She's 12, 13 years old at that point, and he's 18 at least 17. At least 18, actually, at least 18. And the little girl is 12 years old. You're asking about, can man get that? Whatever. There's a lot more evidence than that, but at this moment, I'm gonna, not much. Thank you, guys. Not much. Good. Nothing much. Thank you for educating me. Yeah, I have to get the bacon or whatever we got in that cupboard. So anyhow, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there. And if you're in the business of grooming young girls and being that explicit to them, it's the kind of stuff that you'd want, that that the hunters would want to catch, that kind of talk to a child. You're not much older, but you're old enough. My son at 18 years old would never dream of trying to check his little sister's friends, because that's about the kind of age gap between him and Blue. At 12 and 13. It's not acceptable. And so then these allegations come forward of you actually graping at a certain property young boys. You may or may not have had more access to them. It looks like you're one of them pedos that doesn't, an emerging pedo. Because what you have to understand is it starts in childhood. Pedophiles start offending in childhood. You'll always find that, around puberty, around 10, 11, they start to abuse younger children. So we see a lot of that. And I'm wondering if that's what young Jamel has been getting up to, if these allegations are true. But nobody seems to be able to give us any answers. He's not open for any kind of comment. He's been reached out to by quite a few people, including myself. Silence on the matter. Absolute silence. So it's not a court of law. They are alleged, but my honest opinion is that I think he's guilty, because he's just moving too booky. That's what's going on. And we want to share this because it's important that we could potentially find other victims, because we believe there are other victims. There were other victims that came forward, apparently, on the TikTok live that this individual did. Yeah. But they've been lost back again to the ether. They've been lost in the ether yet again. So we don't know what's going on with that. Yeah? We don't know what's going on with that. So I'm going to put it out there. It is out there. I'll see how far the net casts. I'm hopefully going to come back to this story, and I'm hopefully going to have a victim testimony for you guys. There has been several reasons why that has not happened. And tonight, as I said, I'm going to push it out there anyway, because it is what it is. It is what it is. And I don't think we need to be quite as careful as we were when we were in the UK because of certain, reasons when it comes on to harassment from the Babylonian powers. Right. So that aside, Jamel Belgrave aside, as much as I can do, as much as I can say on that at the moment, I'm hoping that they're going to bring back a case when these other victims materialize, because I believe they will. And the people that have shared the information with me also believe that they will, hence the reason they came to me. So less said, more evidence preserved, because there's a lot of evidence. I've just shown you a tidbit of what's been going on with this hombre. And you guys know, when I show you a lack of stuff and I'm adamant, it's because I've seen a lot. And it's because I've seen that they're guilty without me having to show it. There's sometimes I can be explicit, and I have, I can show you everything and bring the guy on and tape them and do all of this stuff. And there's other times I have to kind of kick back a little bit according to the circumstance. So, but I've seen it. And not a good look, man. Why can't they just stop? We've got all this other stuff going on in our community. which moves me to my next point. I wasn't put Panyo. I wasn't actually going to show that. I wasn't going to dox him that way there because I believe that's his home address in Leeds. Boy, I'm telling internet people are easy, you know. You guys ain't easy. I ain't even going to highlight it, but it's there now. What can I do? I can't take it out of the comments. I'm not going to highlight it on the screen though. I wasn't going to actually dox him, but you've gone and done it anyway, put Panyo. Yeah, he's in Leeds. We know where he is in Leeds. We do. And they're not easier rotted. Oh God. Anyway, guys, let's move away from him for a second because what I want to talk about, Dread 9861. It really depends which girlfriend you're talking about, really, doesn't it? I think his girlfriend swears by his innocence, but then girlfriends always do, and girlfriends very rarely were there for the event. So we don't really listen to girlfriends unless they're proper clued up. Doesn't mean anything, absolutely nothing whatsoever. A lot of guilt is pointing towards his brother who chooses to say, stay silent. Anyway, put him to one side because there's not much else we're going to be able to say about him, and we're doing people's names. I don't know his girlfriend. You guys are putting up her name in the comments and they're not easy. So I've got to say it, they're not easy. It's not me. I didn't know her name. I had no idea who the girlfriend was, guys. He has more than one girlfriend. Well, that wouldn't be outside the realms of possibility, would it, people? Not at all. My thing is this. If you've been a victim of this man when you were younger, if your child has been a victim of this man, if you've known him in later life and your child has been a victim of this man, please DM me. My Instagram name is on the screen. Please DM me where we can have a confidential, detailed conversation that will be confidential unless you say otherwise. If you want to go public, that's fair enough. If you don't want to go public, that is perfectly fine. All right? Perfectly fine. Please, please, please DM me. This is more of an appeal and less of a long testimony tonight when it comes on to Jamel Belgrave. But I've shown you some tidbits. I'm very doubtful of his innocence, So, we're appealing. Let's hope we get something back from that. But let me move on to the point that I want to make tonight, because the point that I want to make tonight is that while the Jermaine Belgraves of this world are busy noncing their way through the community, what we have is a phenomenon in our community of Black men leaving, not only sexually abusing their own women on a industrial scale, generationally as well, from generation to generation. There's not only that going on with our brothers, but also the level of hatred, of inverted hatred that is coming out of the Black man, whether that's through his mummy issues, the girl, the love of his life that hurt him as his first love, whatever it is leaving Black women open to attack from other races. And what we've seen this week, I've been observing this thing going on with Elaine the Pain. Put up one if you guys have been seeing what's been going on with Elaine the Pain on in the social media space with these Asian people. Now, I'm not going to tar Asian people with the same brush. I have no chuck with Asian people, really, As far as I know, India never really colonized us or took us into slavery. I'm a Pan-Africanist. My enemies are Arab and Europeans, as far as I'm concerned, who perpetuate their rubbish to this day, who benefit financially from the wealth that they accumulated for our free labor for thousands of years in the case of the Arab slave trade and hundreds in the case of the European. So my chuck is with those people, really. When it comes on to Asian people, I don't have a historic chuck with them. But the chuck that I do have with Asian people is a neo-colonial chuck. Because ever since our parents came to the shores of the UK during the Windrush from 1948 to 1972 or whatever it was, there has been, I want you guys to follow the timeline because this is in my lifetime. I was in primary school when the bulk of Asian people landed in the UK as refugees from Uganda. Why from Uganda? because Idi Amin had pretty much terrorized them, as he had the Europeans as well, because he terrorized the colonial powers in Uganda. And they built a lot of propaganda on him, saying that he terrorized his own people as well. I think he terrorized a lot of his own people who were in dissent, that had descended away from whatever his goals were. I think he probably did. That would be African dictator style, wouldn't it? But he definitely made it very difficult for the British to continue ruling there. And he made it very, very difficult for the Asians that had been historically traders and people that had come in and become wealthy on the backs of the Ugandans in Uganda for them to stay there. In fact, they weren't allowed to stay there. He completely expelled them. And those who refused to leave were murdered by his militia soldiers. There was a lot of bloodshed. It was a revolution. Oh God. It was a revolution. Sorry, everywhere I look on the internet, it's about Melissa about to hit full impact. Lord have mercy, honestly. That's the history. So I remember being in primary school when the Vietnamese boat children came to England and when Asian people came to England under being expelled by Idi Amin's regime. And I remember, our headmaster at primary school telling us that we should be kind to some people that were coming that are going to be different. Maybe that's the talk they gave them in 1948 when our parents were coming over as well in the schools. I don't know, probably likely. But I remember that talk in primary school, and I remember as a child, the things that stick out for you, because I remember these little Hindu, maybe they were Muslim girls that suddenly flooded the school, and it always I was always a bit bemused as to why they wore like really nice party dresses with jogging bottoms underneath and socks and sandals. That's what sticks out for me, seriously, in those days. But that's the way they were dressed. And slow, both communities took root and we kind of grew up together. And being from East London, I remember that transition from white Jewish on Green Street, pretty much like Stamford Hill, and definitely Gants Hill as well was very Jewish, to it turning from that into completely Asian in Upton Park. I went to school in Upton Park. My school was in Upton Park. I remember that. So we've seen that transition. And one thing I also really remember is when Asians first landed in their big bulk and numbers, because many of them came in the early days as well, especially up north and Cardiff and places like that. But I think that, the majority that settled in London particularly came during the 1970s, especially the Hindus, especially Mr. Patel and his family. And they were welcomed. They came as refugees. They did. Hold on, guys. So I remember that. And slow, as I said, the communities took root. They started opening shops almost overnight. I don't remember there being a long period where they wasn't suddenly owning shops. Do you understand what I'm saying? But let me go. I'm going to share an old newsreel with you guys from BBC. Let's make sure it's a very reputable source, shall we? Let me share an old newsreel. And it's actually at, the kind of official point at which they landed from East Africa, from Uganda and Kenya, because this unrest was going on in Uganda, but the neighboring places like Kenya and other places in East Africa, them Asians were running for their life, Thank you, Anne-Marie Brown. The Skinners used to butt them up, and we were the ones that used to jump in and save them because they could not fight, But give me a moment, guys. I need to put on some repellent. Oh, my God. Sorry, people. Back home lives are always raw. Jeez, I'm peace, man. No, sir. And like it's already started raining out there. It's all very bleak here. There's no sun. And it's that kind of quiet. It only started raining now, but like before it was really hot and quiet. There was no wind, no birds. I was like, here we go. Here we go. They weren't investing in the country. They were plundering the man's economy, like blatantly. That's what's really going on. But let me share a newsroom with you guys for those of you that do not know the history. Hold on. Right, give me a moment. One sec. Right.
For Asians arriving in the UK from Uganda in 1972, at times the reception from locals felt as unwelcoming as the weather.
Ugandan dictator Idi Amin gave thousands of Asians living in the country 3 months from the 5th of August 1972 to get out. Many of them were British passport holders, and Navtesh Johal has been speaking to some of those who settled in Leicester.
The Asians arrived in cold, wet weather at Stansted.
For Asians arriving in the UK from Uganda in 1972, at times the reception from locals felt as unwelcoming as the weather.
They have been milking the economy of the country.
The former military ruler, President Idi Amin, said Uganda's Asians, brought to the country by the British, were depriving black Africans of opportunities, and gave Asians who held British passports 90 days to leave the country or face being put in concentration camps. One of them was Mansour Mogul, a businessman and a prominent member of Uganda's Asian community, who had met Amin on several occasions.
Because I had to flee the country in the darkness of the night with my wife and children because my life was threatened. I came to know that I was on his hit list, and I would have been bumped off had I stayed much longer in the country.
Mansour and his family arrived in Leicester where a friend had offered to house them and where there was already a growing Asian community. But not everyone was so friendly. The National Front organised a march in the city in response to the Ugandan Asians' arrival.
Leicester was unwelcoming. It was racist. It's unwelcoming.
We've had loads of objects that people have lent us for the exhibition.
In the city today, there is an exhibition marking 50 years since the arrival of the Ugandan Asians, and the woman who's organised it was one of them. Nisha Popat was just 9 years old when her family had to leave. What were your first impressions of Leicester when you arrived?
Initially, I kind of thought it's strange, but part of me felt it was like an adventure, and I think I didn't totally grasp that this would be home.
Nisha remembers the kindness of neighbours, but as she got older, she became more aware of the racism around her. She recalls one incident at a fun fair she attended with her brother, where there were other Asian families.
And then all of a sudden, there was a group of young men, skinheads, who just literally ran across the path. They pulled out the stakes from the ground, and they were starting to hit the people. And it was families with young children. It was just horrible. And my brother just grabbed my hand and we ran like mad.
The discrimination was perhaps no surprise. Leicester City Council had published an advert in a Ugandan national newspaper discouraging Asians from coming to the city, claiming its resources were too strained.
The advert was an appalling thing to do. I think perhaps it was counterproductive because probably it alerted people to the fact that there was this place called Leicester, and there was already an established community here that they might want to join. Every aspect of the city's life has enormously benefited from everything that they and indeed the generations that have followed them have contributed.
If you want to get a sense of the impact that Ugandan Asians have had on Leicester, then you need to come here to Belgrave Road. This is one of the main routes into the city. But before they arrived, it was earmarked for demolition. And over the last 50 years, they've helped to rejuvenate it by setting up businesses, shops, restaurants.
So you guys get the idea. You guys get the idea, right? I don't know what's going on with this thing. You guys see me? Pop one if you can see me. I think my other monitor's probably slow. Yeah, it is. You guys get the idea. They came in their bulk because they'd been expelled by expelled by an African leader. That's what happened. And they plundered his economy. They came with a lot of money that they'd transferred. You know, a lot of them had offshore accounts in Europe anyway. Like they said, they came with European passports. They came with English passports, is what they came with. So I just need to make that understood, that the bedrock of that, when they talk about the established communities in Leicester, especially up north, places like Leicester and wherever, Midlands up north, those people, as I said, some of them had come over with the Windrush and had come even before the Windrush, when the seamen were coming over from, you know, the sailors were coming from Somalia and parts of Africa and India and all these places. And they settled in Liverpool and Cardiff and Tiger Bay and places like that. So they were there, yes, they were, but they were menial factory workers. Them never were nothing. You see, when the one them come from Uganda, that's when things started kicking off for all of them. And they started owning and owning and owning, and they've built on that wealth ever since. They've legitimized that wealth, of course they have. Yeah? So let's not get it twisted. And so when you see them attacking the system, man, it really upset me. And the things that they were saying, being an East Londoner and actually growing up quite close to that community, I can understand when they say Carly Goodty, which means black bitch. I understand some of what they talk about, like they understand us. But it wasn't acceptable, and I've not seen any of the brothers run to her. Do you understand? I've not seen anybody go to her cause or sorry, come to her defense. I've not seen anybody come to her defense, but I'm going to try and find the snippet that she put on her page. Yes, here it is. Let me play it for you guys. It's not bloody acceptable. And I needed to talk about it. I needed to talk about it. You know, the narrative that you heard back then about, you know, they came, they faced racism. What they don't talk about is the fact that we had been facing racism since 1948 before they all got there in their bulk. And we'd been used to dealing with that. And we come from a different ilk. So we were already fighting. You hear what the woman said in the news piece. Her brother grabbed her hand and ran. And that was very, very indicative of the way that a lot of Asian people dealt with those racist attacks. My brother would have put me behind him and come out swinging. You know, we defended them a lot. And even in the 1970s, in the political landscape, when you use the term black in a political way, it meant black and Asian people during 1970s labor regimes, you know? Black meant that. So if you put in an application for funding for a black organization, it was black and Asian people that could go for that funding. So and it was us that set up those structures to be able to go for that funding. It was literally Asian community rode on the backs of black people, set up shops, understood us, our psychology, knew what we needed in terms of the food, and they needed their own food as well. So while they were there, they were busy getting African food and Caribbean food in as well as part of their businesses. And they built themselves off of us. So to come and disrespect us and go on like we're lazy and we fill up the prison system is wickedness. And also, when we're talking about the prison system, that used to be the case, that black men were disproportionate in the prison system compared to their white counterparts. But actually that balance has now tipped. And what you'll find is that Muslim men are actually overrepresented in the prison system. So get your facts right. But let me take you guys to the piece that I'm talking about with Elaine. I don't know the rest of her name, but she calls herself Elaine the Pain. I love that name. P and them up, yes. Be a pain in their backside. I love it. But have a look at this, guys. So I deliberately played that twice because I don't know if you guys could hear it through all the kind of muffling and whatever. But Kali is the in their language the equivalent of the N word, right? That's what it is. So when he says Kali Gutti, he's talking a neat bitch. Yeah, that's what he's saying. An N word bitch, and he says it big and bright. He says this N word bitch is barking too much. Did you guys catch that? Put up a one if you caught that. And they go on to say other things and make racial slurs and run stereotypes and so on and so forth. Now, my father, who is what would be considered in Jamaica a coolie man, him never liked Indian people at all. And one of the things that he used to say to me was, or us as his children, don't trust them. They play black and kind when they're around you, and then they'll sell you out and stab you in the back when it comes on to white people. So they play both sides, and I definitely believe that. I've seen that in my professional life along the way, and so on and so forth. But as I said, I'm not going to tart like the Asian with the same brush, because I know some proper, solid Asian brothers and sisters. Do you understand what I'm saying? That proper stand solid. I do. And they tend to be Sikhs, to be fair, or Muslim Aki, Muslim brothers and sisters. So when it comes on to the Hindu them though, we need to differentiate in the same way that we ask people to differentiate when they're talking about Jamaicans or Nigerians or whatever. We also need to differentiate. And I think for the most part, Hindus tend to be the problem. Mr. Dan Patel. What do you say? Nothing was heard or shown. What are you saying, Put Panyo? You guys didn't see any of that. Nothing was shown. Oh, wow. Let me try again then. Let's try again, guys. I don't know what's actually going on with this thing. Let me try again, one more time. Hold on. Honestly, it's so annoying. I don't know what's going on here. I thought you guys could see that. I don't know if it's the slowness of the internet or whatever. Oh, you saw it, sis. So what's going on then? But most people are saying they couldn't see or hear anything. So let me have a go. Let me see what I yes, so. Let's have a look.
I'm gonna love your mom, your
Yes, man. Get off here, man. The yummy. I just did Deski.
Kali Kuti, she's barking too much.
She's obviously triggered. That's why.
You can't reason with them. You need to put them down.
I think the shopkeeper's been following in the shop. That's why she's angry.
You share wealth. We build the wealth. We share it with our own people. Why should we share it with you, Kali? Most of these self-owned businesses in the UK are owned by Asians. What about you, Kali? What have the blacks built? Blacks have built nothing apart from fill up the prison system.
So alcohol
is not haram.
What?
You sell alcohol.
Yeah,
It's not haram.
He's having fake hair, not haram.
Still do it.
Where's your real hair?
Where's your real hair?
Kids and that along.
Where's your real hair? Elaine, where's your real hair? Come on, speak. Speak.
Why don't we share the wealth? Do you want free
wealth? Whenever I share wealth, you come
why should we share
and
wealth?
look at MFs.
I'm gonna love your mom, your
Yes, man. Get off here, man. The yummy. I just did Deski.
Kali Kuti, she's barking too much.
She's obviously triggered. That's why.
You can't reason with them. You need to put them down.
I think the shopkeeper's been following in the shop. That's why she's angry.
You share wealth. We build the wealth. We share it with our own people. Why should we share it with you, Kali? Most of these self-owned businesses in the UK are owned by Asians. What about you, Kali? What have the blacks built? Blacks have built nothing apart from fill up the prison system.
You guys heard that right now? Okay, good. Seen it now. Good. Them Brighty about filling up the prison system. They're calling her an N-word bitch. They're doing all of this. Meanwhile, and also saying that, you know, we've got our shops and we built our wealth. Why should we share it with you? N-word. N-word meaning Kali in their language. Kali. Yeah? But you actually plundered our economies like a lot of people do. You stole African wealth to build yourself. So no one's asking you to share it. We're asking you to just be equitable and deal with your own wealth. There's some of the worst slums in the world are in India. And when it comes on to the way you treat your own people, especially the darker skinned ones, the untouchables and so on, you people are not humane. You're really not. And you need to stop thinking that it's okay to abuse black women. It is not okay to abuse black women and let it go unchecked. You think you can deal with one of their women like that and a whole of them like ants don't come and bundle your place? Where are our brothers? That's what I'm saying. Where are our brothers? We should not be accepting that. If this was in America, if it was even in Yard, it would not be acceptable. I can't even say the same for Africa because, boy, they love to bow over there. Guys, I'm going to put the link out if you want to join this conversation. But Afro-Asian conflict is back on the rise in the UK. This is what Tommy Robinson's going all about. You know, no respect for other cultures and trying to live side by side. Stop it. And also, this is the reason why I stopped going on things like Palestine marches. You know, this recent wave of free Palestine is just a recent wave. It's been going on for 100 years, 70 years. You understand me? It's a 70-year war. So I know that when I've coming up in my activism, I've been on loads of Palestinian marches because we stood in solidarity with them. But when it comes on to us, I don't see them in solidarity with us. That is my issue. So when it came around this time, I said, man, I go nowhere. Let me free Congo. Let's deal with our own backyard people, because you can see these people ain't going to be coming to our defense when the far right turns on everybody, because they will be turning on everybody. Meanwhile, what are we doing? You got Ginger J defending one of their women because he's with her. Ginger J also paving the way, him and others like him, for a man to say to the sister, where's your hairy lane? Like I said on my Instagram page, he never got that organically. He got it from our own brothers. We got to do better. We've got to do better. And the black woman has always stood by the black man, no matter how much you abuse us, no matter how much you do to us. We stand by you. We stood by you on the plantation when Massa was giving you hell. We stood by you through the whole of the 40s, 50s, 60s civil rights struggles, wherever that was happening. The wars for liberation in Africa, things like the Mau Mau movement was fueled by the women. The fight in apartheid, fueled by a woman. We stand for you, brothers. It's time to start stand for we. That's all I have to say, really. Jump on, guys, if you guys want to join the conversation. Things are kind of heating up a little bit outside, really. It's getting a little blustery out there. Yeah, it's getting a little bit blustery out there. So I'm going to kind of go and set up myself. I'm set. Yesterday, I went and stocked up on all the things that I needed to stock up on. So, you know, if we're cut off for a few days, then we'll be okay. Blessed love, Roro. How you doing, my sister? You good?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sis.
Hello, yeah. Blessings, everyone.
For a minute.
Yeah, I'm a young sister. I've been on here before. I hope you're well, Afua.
I'm all right. I'm good.
Yeah. I just wanted to speak about this conversation, especially because I've actually been following Elaine myself.
Okay, good.
And I really like her work, and especially what she does. She says what everyone thinks about, but it's just not brave to say it. So I'm glad that we have a powerful, brave Black woman like herself using her platform in a good way to actually speak about the issues that need to be speaking about, especially with this. And I feel like with us, and it just shows, like, I'll be totally real. As Black people, we always say, oh, we need to stick together, but we can only do it, no much of saying it, because the truth is, us Black people, we don't like to stick together. And this is why these Asians can flourish, because they do stick together and they're able to collaborate with their money, and they're able to build up and like more powerize their Asian pound, which is why they own these businesses, which is why they're able to sell our produce our jewelry, our our meat. Where we get our meat from, we mostly get it from these Asian shops. Where do we get most of our produce, like our plantains and stuff? We get it from the Asian shops. Where do we get most of our Afro hair products? We mostly get it from these Asian shops because they put their pounds stronger and they stick together. And that's
I mean, look, there's something to be said about the fact that they allow their Asian pound to circulate in their community a few times before it leaves their community, which is something we don't. It literally leaves our community straight away. The minute our black pound, that's what the whole Black Pound Day concept was about from Swiss. Is that we need to circulate our black pound. Everyone knows that if you know basic Pan-African economics. So good. They do that. They've put the infrastructure in place to be able to do that. But what a lot of people don't know, there used to be a shop. I'm glad Hurricane Toya. I'm glad you've come up, Hurricane Toya. Actually.
Hello? Can you hear me?
You're live. Yep, you're live.
Oh Jesus, what's going on here?
Are you supposed to be live, sis? Did you want to be live? You're live, sis. Toya, you're live.
I can't even hear you. I can't hear you at all. Jesus.
Come back out and go back in again. Yeah, so I'm glad Sister Toya's come on now, because I know that she's an old East Londoner forest skater like myself. And I'm going to make a point. So there was a man back in the day called Wenty. If you're from East London, that part of East London, Forest Gate.
I know what you're talking about. I know.
Right,
you know when my mum also grew up around East London as well. You're talking about that Caribbean shop. I know you're talking about.
Absolutely. Let me put Hurricane Toya on.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We could hear you before.
I can't hear you at all, you know. So let me just say a little rant. Coming from East London, I found the Bangladeshis to be okay, but the Hindus and the Sikhs, I found them to be very, very racist back in the 90s, and I'll talk in the 90s.
Yeah.
On top of that, going to the school that I went to, who was defending them? It wasn't no one but us, you know what I mean? And then and what they said on the show is that we don't stick together. There's been black hair businesses, but what they've done is, when we open a black hair business, what they do is they'll go next door and they'll undercut us and get us out of business. That's the problem that I have with them as well. I just wanted to put that out there.
Do you know what, Toya? You kind of like, because you're from my ends as well, so we know what we saw. I don't know if you can hear me. You'll be able to watch it back and hear me. But that's exactly the point I was going to make when I talked about Wenty. I don't know if you can hear me now, sis. So Wenty basically was a Jamaican man that had a shop on Upton Lane in Forest Gate. Wenty had a shop. Yeah. And it was, like you said, Rora, your mum probably knows him. A lot of people knew him. He died recently, and he had a 9-night.
Yeah. My dad actually went to his funeral.
It was huge.
Yeah. My dad went to his funeral. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But let me tell you about Wenty. Wenty had his shop from time. It was there from before the Asians moved into Upton Lane. And like Toya just said, slow, they would come and move in next door to whoever. There used to be a Bayesian man that had a hardware shop and so on and so forth. And they literally were doing that. Exactly, the Asians were doing that. But not only were they doing that, during the 90s, there was a big spate of Afro-Asian conflict around East London, particularly Manor Park, Ilford, these types of places, where you had these gangs called, they called themselves the Paki Panthers, and they were attacking black people. So the brothers, my black part of Forest Gate, were rising up, and it was, my sort of little brother's age. They were our youngers. And I remember it, you understand? So this was all going on. And basically, the Paki Panthers were doing protection rackets. You remember the Paki Panthers, Hurricane Toya? All right. Now remember, they call themselves that, We not call them that, them call themselves Paki Panthers. And they were a gang that used to go around doing protection rackets and burning out people's shops if you weren't Asian, if it weren't their business. And they did it. They tried it with Wenty. Now, across the road from Upton Lane was further up the road, is a road called Sproulston Road. And on that road, which actually runs off of my parents' road, which was Earlham Grove, where I grew up. So Sprowston Road at the top of it, where it meets Romford Road before Upton Lane is also off Romford Road, and so is Sprowston Road, a bit further down. On that road, I don't know what it was, but that part was just yardie. It was a gambling house that was there, and it was full of yardmen from the 90s. You know, them type of yardmen that was shot in and shooting up the place and going on with things. And because Wenty was defended by those guys, the Panthers had to back the hell off. And Wenty was the only black shop that survived in that whole area, from Upton Park all the way back down to Forest Gate. If you know, you know. Wenty was the only one. Why? Because he had them road links. Everyone else had to run for their life. So when these people talk about setting up and whatever, they know what they were doing. The other thing that Wenty told me when I was in his shop one time, we were talking about this. He said to me, when we go to the wholesaler, they put the price up on black shops, and they'll give their own people it for less money. Yeah. So there you have it. So there you have it. That's why we've not been allowed to succeed in the UK, because of the sabotage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because obviously there should obviously be a lot more awareness about, you know, places that are black owned. But the thing is, they have to put up their money they have to put their products at a higher price, is because they don't sell enough, because obviously these Asian places where they get their wholesalers from is more accessible for them. And it's just sad. You understand? Like, for example, my mum, unfortunately, my mum, she says, like, you know, because where we live, there is like a black owned business, but she says she doesn't have enough money to go and spend her money in there. And so she feels like she has to go in there, but she feels kind of like guilty to do that.
Unless you're south of the river, your pickings of black businesses are going to be very slim. Unless you're south of the river, and that's just that.
Yes.
You know, our communities are not as vast as they used to be. And they've, like the white communities, have been eroded. The white communities have moved out into the home counties and up north and wherever. And a lot of us have gone back home, like myself.
Yeah.
So
even like my mum, who's also grew up in London, she's also said, which I agree with you, Afua, that, you know, when Asian people used to get abused when they also first arrived, it used to be the black people who used to stick up for them in schools, in institutions, you understand, especially in institutions, like when they used to get bullied, it used to be the black people who stuck up for them. So it's just very like, you know, very, very sad to see. And also another thing that I wanted to say is that I actually started to buy my hair products from Superdrug, because I saw on TikTok this shop, and basically this girl basically showed the ingredients, both of the same product, these ingredients of this, like, I think it was like a hair mask, and the ingredients were totally different to the ones that were sold in Superdrug. So I feel like these men get fake products that are cheap and they sell it in their shops, and it's not the real thing. So I just want to make awareness of that, because also they like to mix stuff in the products as well to make our hair fall out, but that's a different story as well.
Other story for other days. But you know what? My braids are from an African American company, and they are made of raffia and bamboo. Those are they make it from those fibers, and that's what I use in my braids. I don't use these chemicalized whatever they try to do to us.
Yeah, I try to use natural remedies as much as
it's very important. And I've seen a lot of my counterparts, a lot of my peers that do use all of this stuff, that like to relax their hair, that like to do all of these things. And I don't think that it's an accident that a lot of them suffer from what I call the black woman's middle-age curse, which is fibroids and high blood pressure and this and that, because they're not eating right, but they're also not putting the right things into their bodies, including the hair. You know, we learned about that one a long time ago. But come for a black woman's hair when you're in problems, clearly.
It was just very, you know, distasteful to see those men just come onto her platform and just talk like that. And actually, you know, on TikTok Shop, I just wanted to make this aware, you can actually buy these earpods, and basically it can translate a language to what someone else is speaking.
I've got those.
You can understand what they're saying.
It tells you like 160 languages, including Arabic and all of that. It's for real.
So
you understand fully what they're saying. It's great, actually. They had Vietnamese on there, and I sat in a nail shop and heard exactly what they were going on with, and they're not nice.
They just have this like herd mentality that they think they can just own everything and that they can just take over everything. Like it doesn't work like that. Do you understand? To know where you come from.
I wanna sorry to cut you, sis. I want to make a point about oh God, what was I going to say now? It's totally slipped my mind. I was going to make a point about them. It's completely gone. Go on, say what you were saying.
No, I was just going to basically talk about how, like, understand how Asian people are just taken over everything. But it's the truth. Like, they have taken over a lot of things, and you understand, we just need to understand that we just need to be more aware. And we like, there's not enough activism about this going on. And it shouldn't be activism. It's just something that we should just be doing naturally, do you understand? Organically.
Right, I remembered what I was going to say now, and you're right about that. But I wanted to make the point about them being together and us not being together. When you look at the African community, they are very much together. They are the way the Caribbean community used to be. What binds a people is culture and language. Now, our parents were together because they shared a common language, a common culture, right? The same with the African communities. The Nigerians stick with Nigerians and so on and so forth. Who is the most impacted by the lack of culture and togetherness is the Black British community.
Yes,
which actually have our roots in the Caribbean mostly, right? So we've been impacted by that. But when you look at it as a whole, the fact that we're disjointed from our African brothers and sisters is down to language and separation, because we don't all speak the same language. When it comes to the Asian community, it is religion that divides them only. But in the UK, they combine together under the one banner of being Asian. No care if you're Muslim, Hindu, or Sikh. For us, we can't even do that because we don't share any commonalities. Slavery made sure of that. So the old divide and conquer strategy is still playing out in real time. And that's what's going on. We need to stop kicking ourselves for not being together and understand why we're not together. Because how am I going to be together with a brother from Guinea-Bissau who not only speaks his local language, but also speaks French? He's not interested too much in being together with me. Do you understand? We passed the days now when your skin color was your badge. One of the things that I think I'm actually looking forward to when it comes to the rise of the far right is the unity, my sister. It's the unity, because when our asses were getting kicked by these people, National Front, having to run from skinheads on the way home from school, we were far more together as a community. And your skin color defined who you were. So whether you were an African man, a Caribbean man, you were going to defend each other because they were coming for both of you. Because we got really comfortable in the multicultural stew melting pot of the 2000s and whatever we've been doing ever since. Yeah? People have been lulled into a false sense of security. This climate that's rising is actually going to be very telling. And I can see that, that we're going to be forced to be together because we'll have no choice. But is it going to be a bloodbath between us, or are we actually going to fall in line? That's what I fear. That's what I fear. There's a reason we're not together. So we need to stop giving other people props. They've not had the same things stacked against them as we have. Yeah. And they speak a common language. They do.
Yeah.
But thanks, sis. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, yeah. Bye-bye.
Yeah, blessed love. Right, guys, so that is it. We're literally going to batten down the hatches now. I've got another screen here and I'm looking at the live satellite thing and whatever. I think it's going to come in from this evening. They've been speculating since, about late last week, apparently, whether it's going to come today. I heard yesterday that it was going to come today. And now they say it's going to come Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So, but start kind of gathering momentum late tonight. So yeah, any little last minute bits that I need, I'll probably go and do that now, I think. There's nothing really, but I might just touch the road quickly and go and get a few extra bits. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I shall see you guys next week right here on Afua Speaks Community Conversations. But please, guys, pray for us. Pray for us. I'm going to lead out actually with something that I put up on Instagram earlier on, and it's just a prayer. You know, some school children that's praying with a pastor, and it's speaking to the hurricane and what's going on. So let's outro with that. I think that's quite fitting.
The army of the light. No, we're not afraid, I'm ready to fight. Satan feel no care how him try. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. So light it up in a scheme. Brand new flow with a pepper and feel. Just touch down, I'm a tougher than steel. I'm a now run joke, I'm a touching ice stream. Beat the drum, the revolution real. We war.
Can't you see it's an emergency? Cause people are pre-free, they can't feel it.
So we turn up the frequencies, they full of nice. We walk by faith, not by sight. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. No, we're not afraid and we're ready to fight. Satan feel no care how him try. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. 1, 2, 3. In this day full of night, walk by faith, not by sight. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. No, we're not afraid and we're ready to fight. Satan feel no care how him try. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. So light it up in a scheme. Brand new flow with a pepper and feel. Just touch down, I'm a tougher than steel. I'm a now run joke, I'm a touching ice stream. Beat the drum, the revolution real. We war.
Can't you see it's an emergency? Cause people are pre-free, they can't feel it.
So we turn up the frequencies, they full of nice. We walk by faith, not by sight. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. No, we're not afraid and we're ready to fight. Satan feel no care how him try. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light. Yes, I'm marching in the army of the light.